Ahoy toy, welcome to Transfixed, the channel with white glove delivery. And my first video recorded in 4K. Today we're going to take a look at whitening plastic. This is actually the second time I've done this. I did a video about this several years ago, and I thought it was time to do an updated version of it, and also under some different circumstances. Over time, white plastic can turn yellow, and we now know this is due to systemic racism.
Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
So today we're going to demonstrate how to restore plastic to its original white supremacy. You may have seen something called Retro Bright on the internet, which is kind of a concoction that people make up of different things. I am way too lazy for that, and I've had good results with doing it a much simpler way. Now, there's only really 3 ingredients you need to pull this off. Number 1, the most important thing you need for this is developer fluid, and this is used for bleaching your hair. So the key ingredient here is hydrogen peroxide. So what I use is this Clairol Pure White Developer Cream 40. It comes in different numbers. The 40 I believe is the strongest, and this is the one I buy. In the US and Canada you can buy this at Sally Beauty Supply stores or on Amazon. And this is really the secret sauce that makes it happen. And then the other thing you're going to need is just some way to apply it. I'm going to do something a bit different. Usually I use this little sponge brush to apply things. I'm going to use a smaller brush here as well because we've got some small ones. So that's just to apply it. This stuff will turn everything white. So you want to avoid skin contact with this stuff if you can. So I do recommend using rubber gloves with this or being very careful. It's not really harmful. I have gotten that stuff on my hands before and it just turns my hands white, like actually white, this color white. But it goes away within a day or so. It's not really a big deal. But yeah, if you want to not look weird, then it's probably a good idea to use some rubber gloves like dishwashing gloves or disposable clear rubber gloves will be fine. But you do want to avoid getting this in your eyes. It will irritate your eyes. If you do get in your eyes, wash them immediately. Also, don't put this in your mouth or other orifices because it's probably toxic.
Why am I toxic? What?
Second thing you'll need is a big old plastic bag, or any plastic bag that's going to be big enough to contain your toy, because you want to keep the fumes and chemicals and all that stuff inside so that this fluid doesn't evaporate or dry out. So this is actually a piece that I missed in my original whitening video. One of the reasons I'm doing this over again is because I forgot about containing it in a plastic bag. And the third thing you'll need is ultraviolet light. So what's a good source of ultraviolet light? The sun. Sunlight is great. So if this is good weather, you can do this outside, like I did in my original video. But since I put this off too long, it's no longer summertime here, it's fall, and I don't have a lot of sunlight out here. So we're going to do this one indoors, so that'll make another good reason for redoing this video. And we'll just use household lights. So I'm just using these LED lights. I did test a piece and it seemed to work out okay using just these LED lights I have above my stage here. Here's a little glimpse behind the scenes. I just use these big LED lights here. There's another project I'm working on. If you have a skylight in your home or a large window or really any bright artificial light, I think that's going to do the trick as long as it has ultraviolet light. That's what activates this chemical to make the process happen. Now, one of the questions I've been asked is, does the yellowing come back? And this is the wheel jack from my original video. And yes, it looks like some of the yellowing has come back. Is it worse? No, I don't think it's worse than it was originally. It's, I'd say, about the same or perhaps not quite as bad. So yes, this does seem to be a temporary solution. Honestly, I didn't know that until I pulled this out of the box just now. So now this wheel jack is the one that I used in my previous video. So this is, wait a minute, is it? Or is this the KO? Oh, damn it. So yeah, this is several years ago though, so you do get quite a nice long time of the effect. So, you know, is it worth it? Well, it's up to you. The other question I had is, what about other colors? Does it work on other things? Like, for example, this needle nose here, you can see has the gray plastic has also yellowed over time. There's the original color there. This is all yellowed here. So we're going to try. From what I've read, results are inconsistent. So I don't know if it's going to be effective or not. I don't know if it will damage colored plastic. I would try to avoid colored plastic. It has taken paint off when I've made mistakes before. So we are going to try to avoid painted areas and colored plastic. But we'll do a little test on this guy to see what happens with the gray. I think it'll lighten it up. I don't think it's going to make it worse, but we'll try. We'll try. This guy's not super important to me, so we will answer that question in this video. So what we're going to do is just pour some of that into this container, and then, like I said, we're going to use the brush to be a little more careful than we were in the original video to apply it to these 3. So these 3 are going to be my test toys. We're going to use this G1 Getaway And this R2D2 from the Vintage Collection. This isn't very old, actually. This is from 2000 something. And then my snow job from 1985, I want to say. We're going to lighten him up as well. You can see the plastics have different properties, right? Because these, whatever plastic was used for the forearms, are softer type of plastic, I think, and have not yellowed like the rest of the toy has. We could disassemble this toy, but I don't think it's really necessary, so I'm just gonna put it on like that. And with that, I think we're ready to go, and we'll get started. So I think we'll start with snow job here, and we're just gonna pour this into a container to make things easy. And yes, you may notice it looks like something. So go ahead and get your giggles out of the way now. Oh, it's all crusty inside by the feeling of it too. Oh dear. So we just want to apply this stuff on all the white parts of the plastic that we want to whiten up. If you get a bit on the painted part, I don't think it really matters. As long as you don't kind of rub against it. And you don't have to do the entire toy at the same time too. You can do a bit and then do the rest later if you can't. You know. Let's see what happens if I go over this paint. Yeah, that's fine so far. Yeah, you don't have to do it all at once. Just maybe just do half. If you need to hold on to something, that's fine. I would be a little more careful if I weren't doing this on camera, but do the best I can here. Just keep it off its face. That's pretty good coverage. Yeah, just glop it on there. It doesn't really matter how much, as long as it's coated. As long as there's fluid covering the parts that you want to whiten up, that will do the trick. Okay, now the other important ingredient is a plastic bag. This is something I missed in my original video. You need to contain the thing. So this will keep it from drying out and from the developer fluid kind of evaporating. So I'm going to do these one at a time. And what we'll do for now is I'm just going to leave snow job here in the bag, sealed up, under these bright lights. And I'm going to leave them there for, I'll probably leave it there overnight. You could leave it there for several hours, should do the trick. The longer you can leave it in ultraviolet light, the better. So you could check it out in 4 hours. If you can do it for 8 hours, that's fine. You know, if you want to do this in the morning and check it after work, for example. If you're doing this outdoors, I would probably set this up in the morning and leave it outside for the whole day, right? And then when you're finished work, come back and check on it. Actually, you know what? Why don't I just do R2 since I've got enough room in the bag. If you're doing it indoors, like I am here, you know, you could leave these lights on overnight, whatever you really need to do. I don't think I can get around all this detail. I'm just going to go the hell with it and go over all the painted stuff and we'll see how it works. It's okay. This is my toy, not yours, so if it screws it up, it's fine. You haven't lost anything. Let's see how it goes. We'll experiment. We'll do it live. Problem with this bag is there's a label on it, so if you can avoid the bag coming into a lot of contact with the toy, that's better. Have a bit of air gap in there, but not the end of the world, as long as the light is getting to it. Alright, so I'm going to leave those just like that. We'll leave it overnight, and then we'll see how it is in the morning. Actually, we will turn it around because the light, of course, is only on this top part of it, right? So it would be a good idea to turn it at some point. The other thing you could do is try to set up like a reflective surface. If you have a mirror or some foil, something shiny to reflect underneath it to get all the angles, that helps as well. So basically, you just want to expose all of it to light as much as you can. Or as I said, you can do, you know, the top half today, the bottom half tomorrow, something like that. So I will stop it there and we'll come back and we'll see how it looks after some time. Okay, so after leaving these guys overnight, I found the results were good, but they did not seem as good as previous times I've done this. And I found out that these LED lights actually don't put out a lot of ultraviolet light, so definitely outside is the better way to go. But what I did instead was I used a black light, so I've got a black UV light bulb in one of these lamps now, which has a really cool effect. So just for fun, you can get some really wild G2 effects out of these black lights, and holy cow, does my Thundercracker ever look good. Anyway, back to business here. So yes, we are going to take these guys out now and see how they look, and clean them up. Oh, and at this point, I am going to use gloves and be smart here, so. These gloves are not very good. Let's see how Snowjob turned out. Oh, that's much better. Wow, what an improvement. I think he even grew. Ha ha, that's the classified figure. Here we go. Wow. I think that's better. Alright, so there's my R2-D2, and there is Snowjob. So you can see the results. Looking a little better, I think. Not perfect, but better. So let me wash these up. Okay, so I got my lights back in, and there's R2. Luckily, yes. Electronics still work despite the water, and Snowjob here is cleaned up. So none of the paint seemed to come off in the wash, and that is good. And the plastic feels fine to me. So that's the results. Let's do a side-by-side comparison. That's what it was before. This is what it looks like now. I think it's better. It's not perfect, but it's better. Okay, next let's do the Transformer. We are going to do Getaway here. Now that bottle of developer fluid was almost empty, so let's crack open a new bottle because we use only the freshest ingredients here at Transfixed. I shake it up before I dispense it. I don't know if that's important, but... do I need to censor this? Actually, I don't even need that much. We can use any of these tools, whatever you're comfortable with, any kind of brush to get on there. Now this guy here, I don't think we need to worry about the inside joints. You can see it's whiter inside. That's the original color, where it was covered up and not getting exposed to the sun's deadly rays, which you shouldn't get exposed to either. I'm going to use this brush here, and we'll just get it on. Again, we're going to try to avoid the painted parts and stickers because I find that sometimes it damages it, sometimes it doesn't. So let's just not take any chances with that. The bottom's not too bad and not too important, so we'll skip that. And of course, let's not forget to put it in the bag this time. And you know what? Let's experiment on Needlenose here. He is gray plastic that has been yellowed. You can see here it's more of the original color. Hopefully this shows up. That's more of the proper gray. I guess it was covered by, I guess that blocked some of the sunlight on this toy when whoever owned it previously owned it. So we will test it out here. I'll just put it on the middle section and I'll leave the wings alone, and then we'll be able to compare and see if it made any difference. And Needlenose goes in the bag as well. That would be more smart. So we'll seal it up. It doesn't matter if there's air in there or not. And we will put the black light back on that. So before we look at the results, I'll tell you something interesting that happened while I had the toys in the bag with the developer fluid on it. The screws on Needlenose started to foam up. It looks like the fluid was loosening the rust off of the screws. So that was interesting. It didn't actually clean them up too well. I'll show you after, but it's just something I noticed. If you actually want to remove rust, the best thing I found to use is silicone spray. Just put some of that on, leave it there for a while, and then use a toothbrush, and you can clean rusty screws. And I mentioned that in my StarCom video. Okay, so here are the results. So I left these toys in the bag under the lights overnight, and then the next day there was a bit of sunshine, so I also put them up near a window so they got some natural sunlight, and that helped a bit. And after I take them out, you want to wash them a little bit. So just use a wet cloth, or if you're comfortable running them under the tap, just run them under cool water. That's what I did. And then just use a soft toothbrush, or you can use a paper towel, or just anything just to get the fluid off of the toy. And once it's cleaned up, these are the results. They look pretty good, I think. Now, a few things to note. I think Getaway here came out really nicely. Let's compare to the interior part again. Don't have this Power Master, so this should give us a good indication of how much whitening actually happened. Yeah, so it's not as good as the original plastic, but it is whiter than it was. It's less yellow. Maybe a second treatment might have done that even better. It's not going to be perfect, right? It's just to improve stuff, and I think that is an improvement. I'm happy with that. It's better than it did before. Let's see, I'll do a side by side. Here's the before on the left and after on the right. So I do think it's better. One thing to note is you want to be a little more careful than I was. You can see there is some of the pigment has left the gray plastic here along the bumper, right? So that part has been lightened up. I guess I wasn't very careful with my brushing. And everything else seems okay. These original stickers, are these originals? No, these are all repro labels. They seem okay, and the paint seems okay. Let's look around the spoiler. Yeah, I think everything came out all right. I was fairly careful, but so it got the gray. I did get a little bit on the spoiler here, and I don't think that damaged it. So I guess it depends on what plastic it is. So again, just try to be careful. That little brush seemed to work the best, but I could have been more careful with that. Now, Needlenose, this is the experimental one. So you can see I think it did lighten it up a little bit. Can't say I recommend it though. On the edge of the wings, there was no developer fluid applied. On the middle of the fuselage here, there was. And I would say it is lighter. It is more naturally gray. However, I don't know if the camera picks it up, but there is some mottling there. So you can kind of see, I hope you can see it, there's a bit of patchiness. It's lighter gray, but it also has a bit of another shade there, maybe too light of a gray. I should have actually moved this apart. There you can see the original gray plastic. So it didn't do a great job on this one. So I guess if you're not sure, see if you can find another piece of plastic. Like maybe down here would have been a good test surface for me to try to see what happened before I did it on the more visible parts of the toy. It's really hard to say. If it's not white plastic, it's hard to say what the results are going to be. That's why we did this experiment. Now I have done this on computer cases. Remember when computer cases used to be beige, in the 90s? All the computers were beige, this horrible beige. So I did take a whole computer case from an Apple II, I think it was, and I put that developer fluid all over the thing and left it out in the driveway the whole day long, and it did a nice job. It came up to the nice, original beige, not the sort of nicotine yellow beige that it had ended up being after so much time. So computer cases, old computer stuff work well, white plastic works well. Other things, you're going to have to try your luck. I think that these two guys came out pretty nicely. Again, R2 is still kind of more yellow than I was hoping he'd be, but I may have another go at him at some point. He doesn't seem to like the sound of that. Snow job, pretty good, not perfect. You can still tell the torso is a different color. So again, it's an improvement. It's not perfection, but I'm quite happy with the way Getaway turned out. I think he's going to look better on the shelf now. And I guess that's about it. So in short, yeah, be careful applying the developer fluid. This is the stuff you want to get here. Go for the 40. I've never tried anything else. I don't know why I would try anything that's weaker. It will work if you don't wrap everything up in a bag. Like I said, with that computer, I didn't have a, well, I guess I could have got a clear garbage bag, but I didn't do that. I just left it out in the sun. So it'll work, but the fluid's going to dry up. So if you can bag it in a clear bag, bag it. Natural sunlight definitely works better than any fake ultraviolet that you can get. Basically, that's the ingredients. This stuff here from Sally Beauty or Amazon or wherever you can find it, any beauty shop should have it, and sunlight and a brush. So I hope that was helpful. My original video is still on YouTube if you want to look at the old way I did it when I put it outside. If you're wondering what the developer fluid does, if you leave it out overnight, it'll still stay liquidy. This is after 2 days, it just gets thicker. So if you do like I did, put too much in here, you can just pour it back in the container and save. And then you can just, whatever container you use, you can just wash it out. Just wash it out well and you can use it again. It doesn't destroy or contaminate the plastic as long as you clean it well. Oh, and to be honest, there was a bit of a gap between treating these things too. So I did these actually about a month ago, and then I got lazy and busy with the fall and holidays and whatnot and just did these recently. So you can see these haven't changed over the, I guess, month in between the start of the video and now. I don't think there's any noticeable difference. And that wheel jack that I had earlier, like I said, it did yellow again over the course of several years, but this stuff is only about $10, so I think it's worthwhile. And if you're trying to restore things for your collection, it works well. If you're trying to restore things for resale, I think that also works well too. Do you want to disclose that you whitened them? It wouldn't hurt, but I haven't seen the plastic degrade because of this, and I haven't seen it get worse because of this. I would say, if anything, it's a temporary thing and it's not perfect. That's the only real limitations. Otherwise, I hope that was helpful. So thanks for watching this episode of Transfixed.